Good evening, everyone, and welcome back once again to the Sci-Fi Horror and Fantasy Show podcast. I'm your host, Ronald Donahue, and tonight I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Mario Lazo.
Hey, good evening, you all out
Mr.
there.
Mario Lazo. and Mr. Jeff McIntosh.
Good evening, everyone.
So how's everybody doing this week? How's it going, Mario?
Oh, it's as you know, it's warm out already.
Yes, it is.
Miserably warm.
Exactly. How's the weather there, Jeff?
51 and raining.
Oh, I'll take that, man.
Yeah.
I was actually Mario, you know that tornado or near tornado in Pembroke Pines? Yesterday I was actually in a paint store with a buddy of mine when that thing came through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. For those who don't know, I live in Pembroke Pines. That's 2 cities above Miami. It's not very far from Miami. But anyway, yeah, we had a really weird storm situation yesterday down here with hail, winds, and like tornadoes. Cars were being moved by the wind. One report, and an airplane at a private airport was tipped over. I mean, it was like crazy yesterday. So yeah, that's our weather patterns down here, Jeff. That's what we're going through now.
It's funny. I was riding the trolley Thursday, trying to get home, and there was a passenger, and she says that telling the driver that she asked Alexa, number one, what the temperature was, and of course it gave it to her in Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. And so she asked Alexa to convert it, and then Alexa told her there'd be like a 70% rain, and she kind of scoffed at it. Yeah, no, we're not going to have any more rain this week. And Thursday night that storm came down. I don't know if you got it, but it rained and thundered and the whole 9 yards. So I'm waiting to see her again and scoff at Alexa again.
Exactly. Well, okay, let's go ahead and get started. So for the first thing tonight, we'll talk about there was an article that was written by the Economic Times out of all places. So a trailer came out recently for a new Dracula film that was supposed to be starring Keanu Reeves and Jenna Ortega. Well, of course, come to find out, it was AI. And really, it didn't take 5 seconds to figure out when you watch the trailer that it was AI. I mean, it wasn't great. But my question for you is, if you were an actor, would you want people out there, because people are creative and what have you, and I've seen some decent AI ones, and I've seen other ones like that one was like really trash. But my question for you is, with all this new AI that over time it's going to even get better than what we see right now, but if you were an actor, would you want someone, because this trailer in itself actually got like 1 million views. I guess some people really thought it was going to be something for real. If you were an actor, would you want someone actually using your image, your face, to make one of these fake trailers? What do you say, Jeff?
Well, on a related note, I just happened to be reading something online that was talking about the estate of James Earl Jones, and his family had authorized the recreation of his voice, where he appears as Darth Vader in Fortnite.
Oh, for real?
For real, yeah. Is it when I die? Do I want a computer to recreate my handsome face and my voice for the continuation of this podcast 20 years from now? I don't know. Let the dead rest in peace.
Okay, but let's say, okay, I get that. But let's say like now you're alive, and say like you're an actor. Would you want somebody using your image or what have you, your face, making fake trailers, these AI trailers, and putting them out over the internet.
I would not. If I was an actor, obviously I want to be recognized for an actual body of work.
Right.
John Wick, Dracula, Bill and Ted, whatever. I want to be recognized for what I have done, not something that some Yahoo, on a home PC decides to create a fake trailer for a movie that doesn't exist.
Exactly. Right. What do you think, Mario? Same scenario. You're a professional actor.
No, no, yeah,
Would
of
you
course.
want some people out there making these fake trailers with your image?
Yeah, I wouldn't appreciate that. Number one, because there's still the opportunity of a producer or a director coming up with an idea, you know, and I'm still alive. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Now, if I were to die, and this is my question, why use AI if you're preventing the future actors from coming out? You see what I'm saying? How the new actors can have a chance to perform in movies if you're recreating, individuals that are still alive. That makes no sense to me. Now,
I I
if
guess I guess to answer your question in that scenario, that's what they did in Star Wars
yeah,
for like
Carrie
Peter
Fisher
Cushing's
and
character.
even
Right. They
that aliens, that one guy that appeared in the first one, remember, and he appears in the last one.
okay.
So yeah, but where's the opportunity for the young incoming actors and actresses? See what I'm saying? So cut that out, and wait until you're 6 feet under or a little earned, and and if you have the privilege of using somebody down the road because there's no way of, but let's give the new actors and actresses an opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How else will we
Yeah.
get new actors and actresses? I don't get
Yeah,
it.
I think I would kind of feel a certain way about that too. I mean, it was to me when I first was seeing them, they were making them so that, for example, they were making them kind of like retro, meaning, okay, what if the Avengers happened in the 1950s? What if this happened back in the 1950s? So they were kind of making their, even Aliens. That was the first one I ever saw, an AI trailer. It was Aliens that took place. What have happened if it happened in the 1950s? Like they made it seem like, that old retro sci fi. And it was cool. But it's like now it's more like they're trying to make these trailers not to be creative like that. They're trying to make it seem like this is something actually real. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I understand everybody, wants to be creative and whatnot and things like that. Then they could have done an AI trailer with AI images. You know what I mean? You can make an AI image look just like a real person because you see, actually, they do that a lot on a lot of commercials that pop up on YouTube now. The easiest way to tell, the people speaking in the commercial, they never blink their eyes and look at their mouth. When the words are coming out, the mouth doesn't always line up with the words that you're hearing. So fine, if you want to make a trailer like that, a Dracula trailer, make up an artificial character and do it. I mean, I personally as an actor, I wouldn't dig that either. I wouldn't like that because who knows? Someone could be a wise guy and put your image out there and make a fake porno trailer or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So no, I wouldn't personally appreciate that myself.
Well,
But
it's just a step. Suppose suppose you take a classic film, for example, say Psycho, one of my favorites.
okay,
And maybe you don't like Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. Maybe you want to see Charlton Heston.
okay,
So you could go ahead and work your computer magic and have your computer go through and completely replace all the shots of Norman with an AI, a Charlton Heston.
yeah. So for our listeners, what do you think about this? I mean, what do you first and foremost, what do you all think about all these different AI trailers are coming out? And if you, just like I'll pose the question to you, if you were an actor or actress, would you want people out there making these AI trailers with your image? You can drop us an email at drbloodstone@gmail.com. That's drbloodstone@gmail.com. Okay, so let's move on. We had already discussed, which was really disheartening a couple weeks ago, that the Sergeant Rock movie was axed. It's not happening. DC has canceled that. There was an article in Screen Rant that this is what was really disheartening to me about it. We had read the premise of what it was supposed to be, the original. Go back, guys, if you hadn't heard it, go back and listen to our podcast. We had already discussed this. But there was the plot of what was supposed to be for the movie had come out. And it sounded like it was going to be like an adventure, like more of an adventure movie. It was going to take place during, World War II. But the Screen Rant article that I was reading went more in depth into it, that this was going to be almost like an Indiana Jones film, a DC version of an Indiana Jones film, an adventure film, which to me, again, makes it even more disheartening that it's not happening. Because for me, realistically, I saw the last Indiana Jones film, and I really hope that's the last Indiana Jones film. But the greatest ones that ever came out was the very first one and the second one. All the other ones they could scrap, I could care less about. But I was excited because when was the last time we've actually seen a really good adventure film on screen? At least in my opinion. Everything, movies are subjective. Maybe you guys might have seen, or somebody's seen one. But at least for me, I hadn't seen a really good one, especially along that adventure Indiana Jones vein. So once again, now it's disheartening that it's not going to happen. But to you, like, say, Jeff, is it even more disappointing now knowing that it was going to be almost like an Indiana Jones type setting, Indiana Jones feel to the movie?
I would have paid to see this. Now, of course, we've seen movies where they're looking for the Ark of the Covenant and the cup that Christ drank from, which were both Indiana Jones movies. I don't really remember seeing anything dealing with the Spear of Destiny, aside, I think, from a program on that old TNT show, The Librarians, where it had been stolen or they were trying to find it or something. So the Spear of Destiny would be something that's probably a little new to people, something that they probably haven't heard an awful lot about unless they are, students of fantastic films, or they maybe are like, I'm going to put it as like a religious scholar. I think it has the potential for being a pretty halfway decent movie.
I agree. I know, Mario, I know it's killing you because I know you really want to see this.
Okay. After they came out with the Indiana Jones film, they came out with other ones that really, some other characters, Solomon's Tomb or whatever. The only one that came halfway close and it had good actors and the storyline was pretty decent was The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Ooh, you like that, Mario?
Hey, it was both comedic and they acted halfway decent. Now they came out with a bunch of others, like I said, the Solomon Stone, King Solomon, or this one or that. They had like I don't know how many, but I enjoyed the Brendan Fraser and what was the actress's name who they didn't put in the third one. I can't remember her name now. And that was the only thing that came close to it, and that was what, maybe 15 years later. No, almost 20 years later, wasn't it? In 2000, 99, and then 2000. Yeah. So other than that, there was one in the early 80s or mid 80s that was called High Road to China with Tom Selleck. And that was halfway decent because he was a biplane pilot. But other than that, they've tried too many, and they've all been, you just by watching the trailer, you go, no. Uh, so if the idea behind it was Sergeant Rock was an Indiana Jones type movie, yeah, because the first Indiana Jones, or it seems like just about all of them had a military.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fighting Nazis.
yeah, Nazis or Russians or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and you're right. That fourth and fifth one, or they're kind of like, oh, really? And then the goblins in Peru or some nonsense like that. I go, yeah, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's it, And then the last one, I didn't get into it when they brought the original cast just about, and
Yeah,
it was just to
yeah.
make money,
You know what? Well, first and foremost, the Mummy you're talking about, the original one with Brendan Fraser, came
Yeah,
out in 1999.
okay. So
Yeah, and the actress who was in it with him is Rachel. It looks like Wise,
yeah, Rachel
W
Weisz.
W I Z. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She
So
was in the first two, but she wasn't included. I don't know what happened in the third one.
yeah,
The
yeah.
actress, I don't know, maybe it was a money dispute or whatever it was. But like I said, before that, they had done several, and I didn't even go see them.
Hmm.
And I enjoy all types of movies, but not something like you want to recreate something that has already been done. You try to recreate the wheel. Now, who was Steven Spielberg, and who else was it? Just Steven Spielberg who created it, or was it the Indiana Jones series?
Oh yeah, that was Steven
It
Spielberg for
was
the Indiana
also the
Jones.
guy from Star Wars,
That's George Lucas for
whose
Star
name I'm
Wars.
Okay,
blanking.
so
Yeah, that's it.
but Indiana Jones was what, Steven Spielberg then?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, he has a great mind for that, and he hit it at the right time, because, you had the folks, the baby boomers that were yearning for something, from that era, the Saturday morning cliffhanger, which that what it was, and he did a great job. Now, yeah, sadly, Sergeant Rock, well, there's no money for you, I guess. So
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's
That's like I say, that's what really made it so disappointing to me. I didn't know that like I say, when I first heard about it or whatever, I was more excited for you, Mario, than for myself because I'm like, I never really follow him very much. But then when they were talking about the talent, first they said Daniel Craig, then Colin Farrell. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, now we're going somewhere. I could see either one of them playing a role. And then, especially like when they said that, okay, this is going to be when we learned that what the plot was supposed to be. I'm like, yeah, man, this could have really been good. Just like you say, Indiana Jones, Sergeant Rock teams up with a French rebel to go ahead and try to find the Spear of Destiny before the Germans get it. Man, I think that would have been a really, really cool film. I think it would have been really cool. So, unfortunately, it's not going to happen as a live action. Maybe they might put some money aside and make it animated. I hope. We can always hope. But it's really disappointing. At least to me, it's really disappointing that it's, at least at this point in time, it's not going to happen.
Just as a quick aside, Mario talking about the Brendan Fraser Mummy series. I was reading an article today on Facebook where they are going to be doing the Mummy 4. They're going to bring back the
what?
original cast,
With who?
and this it'll be
Oh
Brendan
no.
Fraser,
Weiss?
Rachel.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Weiss in case I'm
no, no, it's
pronouncing
Oh,
Weiss.
that wrong, and they're going to be facing an Aztec god,
Okay.
or at least an Aztec warrior, something to do with
How
the
old is
so we
Aztecs.
how old is
so
Brendan?
we had the Egyptian mummy, we had the Chinese mummy. So now we're going to the Aztec mummy.
Yeah,
Okay.
listen, there's any number of of bad Mexican movies from the 1960s with Aztec mummies. Usually, they for a while there in Mexico, they had the masked wrestler
Yeah,
movies that were
yeah.
popular down there. So there are a couple that I think are like Santos versus the Aztec mummy. So there is some there is some thematic evidence that you can actually have Aztec mummies. So well, there you go.
You guys tell me how it is. Yeah, you guys go and tell me exactly how that movie is, man. Because I can tell you now, I am
How old is he? How old is Brendan? Was it 60, right?
At, okay. Let's move on. Let's move on. Okay. So next, more superhero stuff. So the Direct had put out an article recently stating that James Gunn DC reboot confirmed to include 10 supervillains. So that means in this first phase of the DC James Gunn DC universe, there's going to be 10 supervillains. So he has them listed. The first one we know we've already seen. Lex Luthor is going to be in the Superman movie. The character that we see in the Superman trailer, that's all dressed in black, is somebody named Ultraman. He's a bad guy. We have a new character that they created. That's also in the trailer. It looks like somebody kind of like it looks almost like the original, the old clunky, ugly Iron Man suit that came out in the comic books. It's some guy named the
Yep.
Hammer of Boravia. That's a villain. We also saw this in the trailer. It's a woman villain called the Engineer, and it looks like she has that kind of that metal that with electronic pulses and magnetic and stuff, it can change the shape. So I know in the trailer she was walking into the Fortress of Solitude, and her hands turned into like these spinning blades and stuff. So she's one of the villains. There's a guy named, I've never heard of this guy, Krim of the Yellow Hills. He's supposed to be in the Supergirl movie. He's another villain. You have this guy, everybody was waiting, and it finally came out that Jason Momoa is going to be playing Lobo. It's kind of like a mercenary bounty hunter. He's also supposed to be coming out in the Supergirl movie. He might have maybe a cameo in Superman, but he's definitely going to be in the Supergirl movie. They have Sinestro. That's one of the Green Lantern's enemy. He's like a yellow lantern. They have a guy named the White Dragon. He came out in the Peacemaker season 1. Peacemaker's daddy was the White Dragon, which was a like bad guy, but spoiler, if anybody hasn't watched season 1, he ends up getting killed. So somebody ends up coming back in season 2 of Peacemaker, even though his dad got killed. So we can assume it's somebody else. There's somebody else that's going to be coming out in the second season of Peacemaker called the White Rabbit. It says in DC Comics, White Rabbit is actually a Batman villain who has the power of self-duplication. There's the Clayface. We've already talked multiple times about there's going to be a Clayface horror movie coming out. And actually, Clayface actually showed up in the first series that came out for the James Gunn DCU, the Creature Commandos. He was actually on an episode of that. So we've already seen him in the DCU. We have Ilyana Rostovic. She was also in the Creature Commando. She's a villain. We have another villain, female villain called Cersei. She was also in the Creature Commandos. And then we also saw one of the minor crime villains, Crime Lord from Gotham City. He showed up in Creature Commandos, a gangster named Rupert Thorne. So, with all these different people, some we haven't seen yet and some that we know are coming, we know we've already seen a few of them that are going to be showing up in a Superman movie. What say you, Mario, about these new supervillains that we're going to be seeing either on TV in the Peacemaker series? They're coming out. HBO is going to be coming out with their Green Lantern series. And then we have the Superman movie, then the Supergirl movie. What say you that some of these villains in these upcoming shows?
Well, I'm hoping, and like I said, we get some new blood in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's his name?
Momoa?
Iron Man. No, Iron Man has already been, and he's going to be a villain again.
Well, he's going to be playing Doctor.
Or seasoned actors that have never played that role. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Yeah, bring out 10, bring out 15, but I want to see some new faces, and not necessarily young faces, faces that have never played that role, and see how well they do.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what I'd like to see because, it's like eating, chewing the same gum. Okay, we'll add a little sugar to it. Yeah, okay, it's
Hmm.
still the same gum. So,
Yeah.
bring me a new stick of gum and let me enjoy, something new. Because I mean, we've seen a lot. How long has the Marvel universe been around? 20 years now? 25 years
Yeah.
since the first time.
Quite a while. Quite a while. What say
And
you,
it's
Jeff, that we have this whole list? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no, 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 that's what I wanna say, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm so glad. Honestly, the new characters and, new faces.
Okay. What say you, Jeff, about the list that I gave you?
I agree with Mario. I mean, how many times are you going to have to see Lex Luthor before you say, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, been there,
Hmm.
done that." How many times are we going to see the Joker to know that he's an agent of
Hmm.
chaos? Most of the people on this list, I don't know. I have never heard of
Hmm.
any of them except for
Yeah.
Cersei, but the rest of them are pretty much
Hmm.
unknown to me. I would have liked to have seen who I don't think I have ever seen is Superman's villain, the Parasite.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been animated a
Hmm.
couple of times. I cannot recall if he was ever on Smallville or not. So, everybody listening, if they want to submit a petition to James Gunn for the Parasite, I'd appreciate that. Uh, I'm sure that'll be done by next week, and it'll be mission accomplished. I agree with Mara. You want to bring some new blood. You want to bring some new villainy. You want to bring some different creatures or monsters or problems or chaos into the DC
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah. I think that you're right on with that. I think it's more interesting to actually have some because and that's the thing that I really do like about James Gunn. The same way that he did with Marvel with the Guardians of the Galaxy, he took all these obscure characters and made like these fantastic movies with these characters that were actually never really Guardians of the Galaxy in the comic books, but they're still Marvel characters. And I think hopefully that's what we're going to see even now more of in his DCU. These characters that most people are not even really familiar with, but actually seeing them because they did actually play a role in the comics of, these superheroes. These were actually people that they were fighting, battling. So yeah, it is really cool to actually see some like just like you say, Mario, with actors, but to see some new characters, new blood in these different movies and series that are coming out. Well, actually, moving on to just another DC character. We're talking once again about James Gunn. We're heavy with DC tonight. This is coming from Screen Rant. It says James Gunn gives first major DCU Wonder Woman update of 2025, and it's encouraging. The first chapter, like you remember, Marvel had phase one, phase two, phase three, phase four, all these different phases. DC with James Gunn, the first chapter or first movies and shows and everything that's slated is called the Gods and Monsters, chapter one, Gods and Monsters. So recently on that threads, it was kind of like people can post questions and things like that to different people. You can share your thoughts. Somebody put in there to James Gunn, asked him a question: do you have any updates on Wonder Woman? And James Gunn responded back, not to be shared publicly yet, but yes, encouraging. Because as of yet, we haven't heard any. The only thing that we know about Wonder Woman is Gal Gadot is out of the picture. She is no longer going to be Wonder Woman in this new DC universe. So, with that being said, it sounds like definitely that James does have some plans because who are the pillars of DC? You have Batman, Superman, and I would say if you had to pick three, it would have to be Wonder Woman. Would have to be the third. Now you do have the Green Lantern and you have the Flash, but if you're really gonna say who is the face of DC, I would say it has to be those three. Um, what say you, Jeff, that at least nothing has been really said. No one has said anything or talked about when there is going to be a Wonder Woman, but knowing that at least it appears that it's on James Gunn's mind and eventually it's going to happen. What do you think about that?
There isn't enough scope in the world to wash the taste of Wonder Woman 2 out of my
Okay,
mouth.
but remember now that wasn't James Gunn.
Yeah, but I think that bad news or bad reviews will follow a character regardless of who plays
Yeah.
it. If there's a good story, if the female star is likable, if she's
Okay.
photogenic, then the movie might have a shot. But I think that you're also going to have to deal with people who said, "Ugh, Wonder Woman 2, Steve Rogers was a wish." Oh, I wasted 2 hours plus on this movie, and the only bright spot was seeing the original Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, at the end of the
Okay, now
movie.
there's going to be a series that's coming out called Paradise Lost. It's a TV show, which is actually a prequel before Diana Ross, before Diana was actually born. So that's going to talk about Themyscira, the whole history of Amazons and everything, but it's before Diana, which is probably going to be some point or another, I'm sure, in that series. Even if it's just like a little girl Diana, we're going to probably have to see her at one point or another. But maybe that's going to be like the jump off point to kind of like introduce that world where she comes from before introducing her. What say you, Mario? What do you think about it? I mean, he was, kind of vague, but at the end of the day, it still seems like at least she's on his mind anyway, that eventually James Gunn is going to bring Wonder Woman to the big screen.
I wouldn't mind, to be honest with you. I understand what Jeff said, because that number two was really a bomb, but that first one was really good. And I try
Yes,
to
it was.
focus on the good instead of the bad, unless there's too much of the bad. Uh, so if he's going to take into its own hand, yeah, why not? I'd like to give everybody a second chance. And, like I said, I did enjoy the first one.
Hmm.
Yeah, the second one was a disaster. But,
Yes, it was.
let's see what he does with this new one, you
I
know?
agree. I
Um,
agree.
because she's a pretty good actress, and the theme was real good on the first one. So hopefully he'll continue that, and something successful will come out of it.
I agree. And just to be honest with you, I haven't seen anything yet from James Gunn that I was like, that wasn't really that good. I mean, everything I've seen from this guy so far, whether it was DC, the reboot that he did for the Suicide Squad was awesome. And everything that he did while he was over at Marvel, I mean, the guy's I think he makes really great movies. I think he really cares about the characters and how they're presented. So yeah, I'm really excited. I really do hope that I'm sure it's going to be coming maybe in that second phase of DC movies or third. But I honestly, I really do look forward to seeing a new Wonder Woman movie. So now, let's move on. We've been hitting superheroes really heavy tonight. Let's move on. Bloody Disgusting is reporting that filmmaker Nikayutu Jutsu is entering the world of Cronenberg's The Fly with a new movie that's set in 1986 in the Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis universe. So, in essence, he's coming out with another Fly movie, It's not going to be a reboot or anything like that. It's actually supposed to be taking place in the same time frame that Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis's movie took place. There's not really any further details of it right now, only that it's in David Cronenberg, the guy who made the remake with Goldblum. It's supposed to take place at the same time and in the same universe that Fly movie came out. So Mario, what do you think about that? We're going to get another Fly movie. It's going to take place in the same universe that the Jeff Goldblum Fly story took place. What do you think about it?
I've got mixed signals on that
Okay.
because when you say same universe, we apply that to a lot of things nowadays. But if it's, it's the same time frame,
Mm-hmm.
in what sense is it going to be the same time frame? Is it an exact experiment conducted somewhere else?
Uh-huh.
Who's going to be portraying, or what is going to be developed from this film? That movie had a uniqueness. Even though we had one back in the 50s, and we had that one mid 80s to late 80s, I think it was, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
So here we go, 30 years later. What are you going to develop that's going to be unique, other than CGI? Because, CGI is so far advanced than from that era. Does he have the capacity and capability to do something as good or better?
Yeah.
That's my concern. Because, yeah, you can come out with another one, during the same time frame, but is it gonna be good? Are you gonna expand our imagination, create other, I don't know, ideas or senses that, wow, this is pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll be waiting for it and I'll go see it, but make it a good one. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. What say you, Jeff, that now this is going to be the third installation based in the David Cronenberg Fly universe? What say you? And it's going to take place during the same time frame that the Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis 1980s film came out. So it's supposed to take place in that same time, 1986, in that era. What say you about this?
Well, I'm not
Okay.
feeling it. A couple of years or so after Cronenberg's release of The Fly, they did a
It was
sequel.
terrible.
That was going to be my point. The Fly 2, which obviously was set in the same universe, and Goldblum
Mm-mm.
wasn't in it. I don't think Gina Davis was
She
in
had
it.
she had the
All I
baby in the very beginning, but I guess she died giving birth or whatever.
Yeah, because I remember the thing came out
Giant
as
maggot.
a
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do? I mean, how are you gonna continue that
Yeah,
story? You've got a transporter, you're gonna revolutionize society, you're gonna get goods to other places faster than ever before. But whoops, there's a fly, so obviously we're going to have another fly guy, or maybe because it's 2025, we could have like a fly woman,
okay.
and maybe she'll have wings and will be able to fly. I mean, what do I
Yeah.
know?
I'm like Mario. I'm like, okay, let me. I'll wait until the reviews come out. I'll
Yeah,
wait until the reviews come out. Put it like this. Nowadays, it's like a flip of the coin because I got to tell you, I don't know much about this director, writer. I don't know much about this person. But I will say, if you get the right director, the right, writer, whoever comes up with it, for example, the gentleman that came out with that last Alien movie, that movie was fantastic. I mean, really. I would say my favorite Alien movies was the first one, Alien, the second one, Aliens, and then the last one that came out was awesome. I mean, this guy, it seemed just like you were in that same original universe that the first movie, because it really takes place around the same time. Of course, you saw some things on screen that we never saw in the original movie, but you can still tell it still takes place in that same time. Guy did an amazing job. Hopefully, I'm thinking the same thing like you. Like, okay, what are you gonna do? He was being funded. He was getting funding to make this invention. So maybe like, okay, it failed. Let's see if we can get somebody in there who can make this thing work. And what? Another fly is going to get in there with another guy, and it starts all over again, or a woman. I don't know. I don't.
Or maybe they could have like two flies get in there so that the protagonist would have two
Yeah.
fly heads.
Okay. Maybe that'll work. Maybe that might work. Well, either or, listeners, what say you? What do you think about this? For anyone who is a fan of either the original Fly movie or the remake with David Cronenberg's Fly, forget about the second one. The first one with Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. What say you now that there's going to be another one added to this universe? Good idea, bad idea. Send us an email to drbloodstone@gmail.com and tell us what you think. Okay. We have been so heavy tonight on DC. Let's switch it over for a minute and now go to Marvel. The trailer for the upcoming Disney Plus series Ironheart, Riri Williams starring the character, has dropped. And I saw it, and for a Disney Plus, I thought it was okay. It looked okay for me, but I was actually looking, because when I was looking for the trailer on YouTube, it pulled up some influencers and other people, I guess, like what we do, have their own shows on there. And this one guy in particular, man, oh man, this guy was bashing that trailer, and a lot of his people following the comments were like so negative. I mean, like, really? I'm like, oh my, some even bordered on racial stuff. I'm like, really? I mean, I don't know. What was your take, Jeff, when you saw the trailer? I mean, did it look like it would be something decent to you?
I
Mm-hmm.
liked it. I want to see it. I want to know when that thing is going to be broadcast on Disney, because I'm going to be right there
Absolutely.
watching that. I mean, there is enough room in the Marvel universe for more than one armored superhero. Somebody who has different sensibilities, maybe different morals and
Mm-hmm.
values.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. What do you say, Mario? What did you see when you saw the trailer? Did you like it?
It looked sharp because you have somebody young,
Mm-hmm.
and with youth comes more imagination. And that's what I'm liking about this new character, I guess you'd have to call it, and see
Yes.
what it brings into this new realm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked interesting. I mean, I really got into it. So I'm hoping it's a success,
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
it'll be for, numerous seasons. Let's see. I mean,
Yeah, and for anyone who was not really familiar, Riri Williams is like this genius level, like Tony Stark without the Tony Stark money, that basically makes her own Iron Man suit, but she is the Ironheart suit. And at least it appears from the trailer that the money that she's getting to build this suit is coming from a guy who's really not all that kosher, maybe criminal or what have you, which, leads to a whole bunch of other stuff coming, she's going to have to deal with. But at least, like I say, at least for me, we have, like Mario said, it's a new young actress that we have. I thought, like I say, at least right now, at least the premise sounds pretty good, and the trailer looked really good. And I'm all for it. I really hope it turns out to be successful, so that like all the well, you know what? Put it like this: I don't care how good it is, you're still gonna have those people that are gonna just bash it, which I tend to think a lot of time is. It appears to me like a lot of female led series you just have people that just don't want to see it. They're haters, at least that's my point, my opinion. I don't know why.
You know, it's always been my point of view. You know, if there's something on TV and you
Change the
don't
channel.
like it, turn
Yeah, change
turn
the
the
channel.
channel. It should not be my job to be the watchdog where I come through and say, Ron, you're watching, the Real Housewives of
Hmm.
Atlanta.
Exactly.
It's not my
Right.
business what you watch.
Right. Yeah, like you say, if you don't like it, change the freaking channel, man. I get so sick and tired of like people just like always just bashing everything, man. Good grief. Well, anyway, we'll see what happens. And again, I think it looks good. I really hope the show turns out as good as it looks, because it does look really, really interesting. All right. Well, last but not least, let's move on to our question of the week. So the question of the week is, name an animated film that you would like to see made into a live action movie. We just see now they're already advertising. I'm excited about the Lilo and Stitch movie. That's my favorite Disney movie, animated Lilo and Stitch. Name an animated movie. It could be, it doesn't have to be a Disney, but name an animated movie that you saw that you would love to see made into a live action movie. I'll start with you, Mario.
Okay, well, I have two. One is a movie, and one is a serial.
Okay.
Ichabod Crane, and I think it was a Disney, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the Headless Horseman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think they already did one with Johnny Depp, didn't they?
they did. They switched the story around.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but it was a good movie. I love that movie. It's a great movie, though.
yeah. And then I've always loved to have seen this in a movie, Johnny Quest.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
huh?
Which
Yeah, that's
version?
true.
Which
How
version?
many versions were there in the 60s?
Well, in the 60s there was one, but then maybe around, I don't know, 20 years ago or
And now,
so, they Hanna-Barbera kind of
yeah,
Oh, did they
updated
really?
it, and
I never saw
Oh,
it.
okay.
uh-huh,
Yeah, I never did. I didn't either.
yeah, I have.
Okay.
It's kind of they did the same with, wasn't it, Space Ghost? They came out with it.
Yeah, but they made him a joke though. I mean, it was funny. Don't get me wrong, but they really like clown that character. You know what I mean? But they made up for it with that new comic series that came out. Man, it's brutal. I mean, on the oh my gosh, to see what happened to Jan and Jane, the teenagers that followed him to their family. Oh my God, it's brutal.
But Johnny
But
Quest,
yeah,
I mean, Johnny Quest sometimes was ahead of its time,
yeah,
with the different series, the jets and all this, and the boats, and you know, I'd like to see that into a feature film.
I'll say this. I don't care what nobody says. Race Bannon is Johnny Quest's daddy. I don't care. He looks just like Johnny Quest, right? I say I'll take that to the grave. Grace Bannon is Johnny Quest's daddy. So, what do you say, Jeff? Name an animated film that you would like to see made into a live action?
I'm gonna say Aladdin.
Didn't they do that? What?
No, I'm kidding. I know there
Okay.
was a live action Aladdin movie. No, I'm gonna go with, to nobody's surprise, has heard me talk, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you gonna do Oogie Boogie?
CGI.
Yeah.
Unless you want to make it a play. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I know a lot of people love that film. My supervisor, Elena, loves that film, Mario. She loves that
Which
movie.
one?
Nightmare
Not
Before
before.
Christmas.
Okay.
I fell asleep on that movie in the theater. I started watching it. I really thought it was going to be cool. I think I woke up around the last 20 minutes of the movie and I'm like, I don't even need to know what was filled in. I'm good. So that was never a movie that I really liked very much, to be honest with you. But I do know like a lot of people really do like it.
Oh no, yeah. I had a young lady that worked with me at Skya, and she had
Uh-huh.
everything the night before, Christmas.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah.
People
There's some
love that.
fanatics about it, so yeah, I
Yeah,
can see that.
they love it. They love it. Okay, so for me, I think I have like Mario. I have two. The first would be the 1980. Let me see. That came out 1983 animated film Fire and Ice.
Oh yeah,
That,
yeah.
that is like my favorite all-time animated fantasy film, man. I love that. Every year I watch that at least once or twice every year. I love that movie. I would love to see that made into a live action film. And then, too bad Gigi's not here, but I would love to see Akira made into a live action film. That movie, you guys have seen it, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Jeff?
Um,
Jeff.
I don't think so.
What? Yeah, that's your homework, Jeff. That's a movie you gotta watch, man. That's an amazing animated film.
Hey, Ron, didn't they make something like Fire and Ice? God, what is the name of that movie? And I have it too, as a matter of fact, in 4K. I can't recall.
Like a fantasy barbarian fighting film and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they made like 1,000 of those, man. You know what? You know how like we were saying earlier, like when Indiana Jones came out, you had all these other people making these so-called Indiana Jones like films. You remember when Conan the Barbarian came out?
Yeah,
Then that's when everybody was making these barbarian sword and sorcerer films and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So I'm sure there probably was any number of ones that came out. But I was just thinking along the lines with the same plot and the same storyline as the original animated film. I thought would just be real killer.
Something Craft.
Hmm?
The movie I'm thinking of is Something Craft.
Oh, yeah?
Warcraft. Was that his?
Oh, yeah. Warcraft. Let me see. That was when did that come out?
Asking me? I even had it.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about, Mario. I mean, it's still along the the
that
fantasy line or what. That came out in 2016. But I was thinking, like I say, more on the lines of an actual
right,
taken from the original story of the Fire and Ice and make that into a live action. That's what I was thinking about.
right, right.
But yeah. But they've like they say they've made many fantasy films, Dungeon and Dragons and all this kind of stuff. But I just really love that movie, and that was one I would really love to see. All right, well, hey, look, that brings us to the end of our show. So, that being said, I want to thank my co-host tonight, Mr. Mario Lazo,
Hey, you're welcome.
and Mr. Jeff McIntosh.
Good evening, everybody. Stay safe.
For all of our listeners, once again, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if it's anything that you'd like us to discuss on one of our shows, send us an email to drbloodstone@gmail.com. Once again, drbloodstone@gmail.com. And we'll see you all next week. Take care now.
Take care now.